Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu pakhair ragale ni hao chune shumme washmale ohaya gonzaimas guten morgen hola bonjour previous guten tag too as well and kaifal a very amazing khush amadi to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside the very pretty Mariam Shahzad and Shahzad Khan. Hello Mariam, how are you today?
Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning, Shahzad. I'm doing very well. I hope you guys are doing very well too and you're ready to rise and shine, wake and bake with us, me and Shahzad on World this morning.
Well, these were my lines, Mariam. Come on,
So
don't do this.
we can copy each other. That's fine.
All right, but as a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, today the topic we are going to discuss on this show is something about pollution. Then it's about climate change. Then it's about renewable energy sources. But before we indulge in that conversation, what we need to do that is basically go ahead and take a look at the top stories. So let's see what's happening all around the globe. Good morning.
Foreign Office spokesperson says Pakistan's support to the United States has been critical in dealing with the challenges of terrorism in the region.
Chief of the Naval Staff Admiral Zafar Mahmood Abbasi has expressed satisfaction over operational readiness, developmental plans and security aspects of Gwadar Port and related maritime components of CPAC project.
Women flocked to Le Mall in Jeddah to check out the kingdom's first car exhibition aimed at women a few months after Saudi Arabia granted them the right to drive.
Congratulations to all the ladies in Saudi Arabia. Ice sculptures amid colorful lights and stunning fireworks created a spectacular scene on the opening night of the 2018 Shenyang International Ice Snow Festival. Beautiful.
The third one-day of the five-match series between Pakistan and New Zealand will be played tomorrow.
Best of luck, Green Teas. All right, ladies and gentlemen, these were the top stories in time now for a public service message. I guess I'm going to do the honors
Yes,
if you do not have
please.
any issues. So let's see.
I will just barge in.
All right, let's see what do we have in the box. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so the public service message is somewhat taken away from the experience which I had very recently, and that is that, quite a lot of times we do experience load shedding, and because of that load shedding, we see that the street lights are actually working or the signals on the streets aren't working. So what happens is that it certainly takes you a blink of an eye to realize that, something's probably stopping or somebody standing on the street is actually stopping you. And it's hard while you're sitting in the car or if it's rushy as well. So please make sure that you drive slow and just keep an eye if what's happening. You actually have to be very careful about it as well, because I experienced this very recently as well, and you just don't know that how much harm you can bring to somebody else. So please make sure that you drive safely, and if in case that if you have hit somebody, please make sure that you stay over there, you take them to the hospital and look after them. So please be very careful while driving. This is what I want you to say. How do you want to barge in?
This was a very good public message. I wanted to just add in that Shahzad, good public message.
Okay, thank you very much, Mariam, for doing that. But now moving on towards the topic. So ladies and gentlemen, today what we're going to do is that we are going to, first of all, I'm going to give you certain examples. For example, in China, 12,000 polyester factories were actually shut down because of the fact that they were polluting the environment. Then if we come over here in Pakistan, we've seen that, in Lahore, there was this issue of smoke, and it was just because of the fact that the way we were creating energy or the resources which we were using to create energy were actually polluting the environment too.
Sure.
And in recent years, we've experienced that, there's an increase in climate change. For example, over here in January, now even if you go to visit Nathia Gali or Murray, you cannot even see snow over there because of the fact that, the climates are changing rapidly, and it's because of the fact that our industries have been producing massive kinds of pollutants, and they've actually changed the entire dynamics of our climate as well. So what we need to do is that we actually need to come up with renewable solutions. And then other than that, there's quite a lot of land which is actually getting depleted too. If we talk about reservoirs, if we talk about all of that water which comes down from the north too as well. And I think in days to come, we are even going to experience the shortage of water, which we already do in Karachi too as well.
Right.
So we'll talk about all of these things, and then that Kyoto Protocol which we signed, and then the other countries weren't actually ready to do that. But before that, what we're going to do is that we're going to go for a short break, and then when you guys are going to come back, we've got very amazing guests over here in the studio. We'll be in conversation with them. Let's see, how do we change Pakistan? Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PT while you watching World this morning alongside Mariam Shahzad and Shahzad Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are actually talking about the way we produce energy and the effects of producing that energy on the entire world. And that's, I think, if I am going to interpret into a word, there will be, those effects will actually be pollution, that effects will probably be smoke, that effects probably be
floods.
You getting asthma too as well, and then floods and whatnot. So there are too many things linked with all of these as well. So on my right hand side, we've been joined with some amazing guests. They've been on the show too earlier, and this gentleman has actually certainly done quite a lot to save Pakistan and to save the entire world as well. He's a superhero. He's basically a renewable energy and energy efficiency expert, working as manager technical in Energy Conservation Fund too as well. He's none other than Mr. Asad Mahmood. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you very much, and very highly motivated by your complimenting remarks. And
thank you very much
Welcome.
for saying that. I feel the same because of that incident which actually took place with me as well. But as a matter of fact, we have to move on. So alongside Mr. Asad Mahmood, we have actually been joined by somebody who's an environmentalist by degree, researcher on water and climate change at SDPI. She's none other than Miss Mariam Shabir. Hello, how are you? Assalamu alaikum.
Hello. I think we need such kind of energy in Pakistan as well.
Thank you very much, but this is 100% organic energy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we need to mention. All right, last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by CEO FSG International, Malaysia, and Solar Sigma Limited, Pakistan, Mr. Nisar Ahmed Latif. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam. Thank you very much for this introduction.
Thank you very much for joining us. And I think that Mariam actually wants to lead the conversation. So, Mariam, the ball is in your court.
Yes, thank you. So we have some wonderful experts sitting, and I'm really excited to talk about energy. Shahzad is like beaming with positive and energy today. So I'll start with Mr. Asad. So, Mr. Asad, what is UNFCC, and what other international, conventions have Pakistan signed to curb down pollution? And could you please shed some light on Kyoto Protocol also, and to tell everyone what is Kyoto Protocol?
okay,
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, thank you very much for asking this thing, and we are setting the tone in the correct way. Like the UNFCC, United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change, the thing began back in 1992, where the developed countries somehow self-acclaimed that because of their development, there have been so much pollution, and now they have to do something to support the countries, the developing countries, the economies in transition, which they definitely need advanced technology and clean technology to supplement those. And this is something like this. There were some bindings to curb the human-made CO2 carbon dioxide emissions or other GHG emissions, which we in fact convert or into equivalent of carbon dioxide in fact. So then down the line there came the UNFCC Kyoto Protocol as well, which is a sort of, you can say, another step which was taken under the umbrella of UNFCC,
Right.
where like the annexure 1 countries, as per the legal language used in the Kyoto Protocol, and there were some non-annexed countries like the developing countries. They were identified and they were asked to ratify or take some certain actions or bound themselves to give themselves targets to go for emission reductions in various sectors which are contributing towards harmful emissions in the sense of like and contributing towards the greenhouse the global warming.
Right, right.
And luckily, or as far as various, there is another famous saying that we probably are the last generation which can do something about climate change.
Right.
Because we have seen the transition development phase. This generation has seen it, and we have to do it. We could be the last one to save the future generation.
Correct.
All right, but then at the same time, you know, while I was going through the overview, which our producers actually sent us, so there was this sentence which said national determined contributions which were actually submitted to UNFCC too as well. What were those nationally determined contributions?
Yeah, this was a full rigorous step which government of Pakistan through Ministry of Climate Change took, and in last 2 or 3 years, they, after the national climate change policy came in and climate change implementation framework was there. So Pakistan Pakistan has been doing lot of good projects in addressing the climate or environmental threats. But that policy gave them a new impetus to look at the things and to align themselves with the international arena to in fact by through this national determined contribution, in which all the stakeholders over Pakistan were interacted upon, and Pakistan gave its emission projections that by 2030, like these are going to be the emission projections of Pakistan in different sectors like industry, agriculture, your land use, forestry. So and for those projections that Pakistan is going to peak up their emissions by 2030, like 1600 MT of equivalent CO2 equivalent is going to be the threshold limit. And in order to reduce to 20%, and in order to look at the economic growth at the same time, we need some certain $40 billion investment in order to achieve those 20% emission projection reductions, which we have calculated as a business as usual scenario.
All right, thank you very much for giving us that overview as well. But I'll just move on to Ms. Mariam over here. Ms. Mariam, tell us the situation we have at hand currently over here in Pakistan as well, and tell us the pros and the cons too as well, that, you know, okay, in coming days or in coming years, what effects we can probably or we should be ready for.
I will particularly talk about water with the context of climate change. It's not that Pakistan has scarcity of water. No, we have a lot of water, but we have management issues. Like we were government were having plans of constructing larger dams like Tarbela, Mangla, Kalabagh Dam and the Amar Bhasha Dam. These were not new plans, but they were very old plans which WAPTA and the government decided to build upon. But unfortunately, we due to certain reasons, we are unable to construct dams, and we are not getting energy from hydropower, which is very cheap if we get from that. So recently, what Pakistan is facing in past few years are that we are facing with a lot of floods because we don't manage water.
It's like almost every year.
Yeah, and it costs a lot of economic burden to nation and to the government as well. And if we don't construct the Amar Bhasha Dam or other dams or other mini dams, then I was reading a research last day done by a very prestigious institute, in which they were saying that Pakistan and Asia would be facing double floods in recent coming years,
in the days to come,
because we are not managing water. So recently, WAPTA has suggested government and have given strategy to construct the Amar Bhasha Dam. So let's see where things will move, and Prime Minister has taken initiative.
So don't you think, by building dams, although it's going to curb down floods, but isn't it a good idea to use the hydroelectric energy, as in, for Pakistan? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, another benefit of constructed dam is that we get energy from hydro energy from that as well, because and I think Pakistan should move on to hydro and solar, which is quite rich site in Pakistan, but we are more focusing on coal power plants, which are damaging environment a lot. And recently, we have a lot of projects under different mega projects. Pakistan is constructing more to coal power plants, but maybe because that is cheap.
So, is it because of the fact that we have financial constraints too?
Yeah, definitely.
I think I'll move on to Hassan. Ms. Hassan, sorry, I'm going to come back to you, but so how do you think it's going to work? Because for a country which is developing right now, you know, don't you think that it's going to be very hard to shut down industry or to probably stop producing energy, which we are in dire need of as well, whereas other countries do not really care about that? You know, they're like, we're going to put in more industries, we are going to hire our people for our jobs, and we do not care about whatever emissions we emit.
Definitely, like, let me just bring into discussion two key key terminologies. One is adaptation and one is mitigation when we talk about climate change. Yeah. So one of the highest emitting factor which we have seen in terms of emission projections is the energy sector. All right. So that's why like energy gain popularity or priority in almost all the developed countries and developing countries, that it's the one sector that is contributing the highest amount of emissions. Yeah. And in context of the fuel source, that is an indigenous source, we need to look at an integrated energy planning approach. Like we need to focus on harness our local potential resources as well, and to keep whatsoever power plant is coming, even it is coal, we need to go for environmental friendly technologies, and we need to go for complying the national environmental quality standards. Until unless we are complying with the national environmental quality standards, at least like everybody is emitting some certain pollution through their cars, or so if we are reducing those emissions through various means and not reaching those threshold levels which can create problem for the local inhabitants or the biodiversity in the surrounding of those power plants, we need to focus on energy security. Climate security is another issue, water security is another issue. So these are all synergized things we need to look at. So we need to focus on economic perspectives as well.
So how do you think we are going to focus on economic perspective? Because, you know, for a country which is developing already, do not have such massive scale productions or industrial units, it will be very hard.
Yeah, this is something like there we need to focus on international financing windows, which are giving financing for becoming energy efficient, or if the industries want to go for low carbon technologies, they are financing those. There are other policy measures just like net metering, which has been taken by the government to promote clean resources, and indigenous manufacturing or imported quality based panels are the key. And similarly, one of the breakthrough I just wanted to discuss is like in emission, which is drastically going to reduce emission. Is the technology we have recently introduced in the brick kiln through brick kiln sector, where the coal reduction has drastically, with the adoption of new technology, the coal reduction is going to reduce to 40%, and emissions which are basically the end of the pipe treatment would reduce 70% emissions because of that technology. And now this informal sector is going to give us a very positive image, and we can fetch financing through Green Climate Fund and other financing windows.
We'll definitely come back to that, but I just want to move on to Mr. Nisar. Hello once again, sir. Hey. Very sorry that there was a bit of delay, but I wanted the audience to get an overview of what we were talking about. So Mr. Asad actually very rightfully mentioned about net metering. We'll definitely get to know about that. But over here in Pakistan, we have this sentiment that whenever there's a newer technology coming in, we just do not check what are the flaws or the backdoors of the entire process. So for example, now when we talk about solar panels, as he mentioned that we need new solar panels, first of all you need to tell the audience that the solar panels which we have been using, what's wrong with them?
Well, thank you for this wonderful question. Solar energy is talk of the town nowadays, especially when it comes to net metering, like Asad mentioned. Now new reforms about the net metering, the Prime Minister has recently inaugurated, and Mr. Lagari, he is personally he is focusing to promote the net metering in Pakistan, which was required actually on a very higher top leadership level. Now coming back to your question, the solar panels, actually it is quite normal in the beginning when there is new technology people bring and people start to adopt whatever is available or easily available, especially in Pakistan when you see, the cost is very important factor.
Yeah.
When people select any technology or any new item, they first ask the cost and then the quality.
Exactly.
Whereas it should be other way around. What happened in terms of solar panels, because of the cost, people started bringing whatever was available on cheaper rates from around the world, and they wanted to bring in, and they brought in Pakistan and started selling.
Yeah.
So what happened because of that, the cheap, the damaged or rejected solar panels or modules were imported and then distributed in the market. Due to that, what was the result? Because people, when they have used those panels, they have seen the results over the period of time. They started producing less energy compared to what was required, and again, some of them are not working at all, because if you want to go in a little bit more detail, there are micro cracks which you cannot see from naked eye.
All right.
And the solar panel works somehow okay when there are micro cracks in the crystalline cell, and when you start using it, with the passage of time, it starts decreasing the energy production, and then ultimately it goes away. So the good solar modules are certified by IFC, and now luckily Pakistan, now with the efforts of AEDB and other organizations, the standardization of solar modules have been somehow adopted, not implemented.
All right.
And we are following with the authorities like NICA also, Asad is part of that, and AEDB, that we need to implement that standardization, so that the low quality or substandard materials, especially as far as the solar panels and related equipment is concerned, cannot be imported in Pakistan right from the borders, and the customs shall be trained, customs officers shall be trained enough to identify these are the certified products and these are not.
Right. All right, very rightly said, but as a layman, there's one more thing which I want to ask before we move on towards the trailer of a movie which we want to share, and that is, so literally as a layman, this is what I'm asking, that is that just because of these solar modules or solar panels being imported in Pakistan and the energy they produce, it is clean energy though, or does it affect our environment, or it does not?
Well, again, there is perception that normally people ask on the cost of producing the solar panels itself. Whereas when you have the solar panel installed, what does it do actually? It just converts the sunlight into electricity.
Yeah.
So it's very simple. There is no emission, there is no pollution for that.
Yeah.
You just, and the solar panel itself is normal conventional solar panels are made out of crystalline cells, and it is like a ceramic plate you have installed on your rooftop, and it is getting the energy from the sun. The very important factor in this, the net metering now in Pakistan. I think you want to ask this question after this.
After we go and watch this trailer of the film Carbonation, ladies and gentlemen. So if you like the trailer, go ahead, watch the film too as well. Go ahead, take a look at the trailer. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, because we're talking about clean energy and clean environment to breathe in. Let's go. Good morning.
Climate change is, in fact, a national security issue. We need to change how we think about this.
Do I think man is causing global warming? No. But that doesn't make any difference. I want clean water and I want clean air. And that's so simple.
We've been doing it one way for the last 100 years, but we've got to be thinking about what's the technology for the next 100 years.
This is a very complex, high-tech operation. You take the extension cord, plug it into the car.
The lights lights are on right now geothermally. It costs me about $12 a day to refrigerate this place. If you did it on diesel fuel standard, it would be $750 a day.
For Roscoe, I guess we bottomed out when we lost our Dairy Queen. We sat here and pray for rain and cuss the wind. Now what we've been cussing all these years turned out to be a blessing.
There's no question that these technologies are going to grow very quickly. The question is who's going to get the business.
China is likely to be there well ahead of us.
What we need to be worried about is whether or not we're keeping up with them.
I see the United States having almost a full employment economy based on retrofitting a nation.
You don't have to be concerned about climate change or terrorism or anything. You don't want to drive at 10% of the cost of what you're driving at now.
So if you don't give a damn about the environment, do it because you're a greedy bastard and you just want cheap power.
You might could say I did it all single-handedly, see?
It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
It's the most patriotic thing you can be, do, think, or feel today. Green Baby is the new red, white, and blue.
This is
All right,
no...
ladies and gentlemen, so that was literally a trailer from a documentary, but please make sure that you take a look at this documentary because it will make you aware of the fact what we are talking about today, and then you'll be able to understand. And now moving on with Mariam.
So I'll be asking Mr. Nisar, what is actually net metering? All of us want to know what is net metering and what is it doing for our,
Energy sector.
Yes.
Well, net metering is a process that the way you can generate the energy, electricity especially,
right,
from any renewable energy source, you can utilize it for your own self as well as you can sell back to the grid.
Right.
All right.
Yes. So the SRO by NEPRA was passed in Pakistan 2015, September 2015.
Right.
Right after that, AEDB, NRCON at that time, or AED, NICA now, the other departments, they started taking interest in that. Honestly speaking, there was not a breakthrough. REAP, there is Renewable and Alternative Energy Association of Pakistan. They also coordinated with different authorities to get it started because that is the answer to Pakistan's load shedding and energy problem.
Right.
For example, very quick example, you see almost Pakistan's population is 200 million.
Yeah.
0.5% of 200 million, just 0.5% is 1 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if you install just 5 kilowatt small system on 5% of Pakistani population's houses, like 1 million houses, you will get 5,000 megawatt installed capacity increase in national grid, and that is exactly your shortfall is nowadays.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Right. So I am happy that this new minister, Mr. Awais Laghari, the Minister Power Division, and our new Prime Minister, they are taking interest. Last week they have inaugurated the reforms of net metering process.
Yeah.
And now it is, I can see.
So it's in the process.
Yeah. Pardon?
So it's in the process now.
Yeah, it has, the process has been started. The AEDB has taken lead. They have pre-qualified, I think now 18 the quality installers who can install the net metering system. By the way, now up till now, 250 plus net metering licenses have been issued.
And I think it's a great business opportunity too as well. So for all those people who are out there, please make sure that you jump in. For all those investors who are out there, and it's going to benefit your country too. But moving on to Mr. Asad over here, because we are running out of time too as well, so we need to come back towards solutions. So China came up with a solution where they actually shut down 12,000 polyester factories because they were adding pollutants in the air. Now, for a country like Pakistan, we need to come up with renewable energy sources too as well, or we need to create energy in a way where we're not polluting. So what solutions do you have in those terms?
Well, this is something like without compromising on the like development things. This is on which, like Mariam, we're definitely going to speak about that. There are sustainable development goals over which Pakistan has also like is working on, and there have been like on the very top level, people are looking, or various ministries are looking at those things.
Yeah.
But the immediate solution or to me, the solution to curb GHG emissions without compromising on the development is lies in the energy efficiency.
Right.
Energy efficiency is the key word for me, and this is the first source of fuel which is actually not being consumed but being conserved. So that is something like if we can adopt efficient practices, first of all, it definitely can reduce the threshold cost or the capex cost which we need to put in for getting for new renewable energy technologies. And secondly, the enabling policies, the fiscal incentives should have to be there. Every new building which we were discussing, which is going to be constructed by government or by private housing societies or authorities, they need to be efficient, or they need to be having some certain sort of renewable energy technologies mixed there. 5% or 10% should be mandatory for them to generate on their own. So the overall integrated approach is need of the time and need of the hour in order to focus on development issues, your other aspects which are.
So let's just move on to Ms. Mariam too as well. So what solutions do you see for Pakistan as well in terms of depleting land, reservoirs not filling up as well, and then all of the water, all of those floods? What do we do?
And I wanted to ask you about the sustainable development also.
Yeah. Shehzad was mentioning that China has shut down, 11 or
12,000 polyester factories.
12,000. You see, China's economic growth is much faster than Pakistan. Yeah. So Pakistan cannot afford to shut down any industry. We already are behind our economic growth. So I would like to talk about sustainable development. Like Pakistan has to adopt such policies which support sustainable development, which cares about environment, which cares about economic growth. And shutting down any industry is not a solution for Pakistan. Like Asad mentioned about UNFCCC, under that agreement, Pakistan has a quota to produce certain carbon emissions, and Pakistan has right as a developing country to produce certain amount of carbon emissions. But we can use clean technology, like under CPEC, we have a lot of chances to bring environmental friendly technology to take care about environment. And secondly, we need such policies and consistent policies to work on renewable energy and as well as reservoirs. I don't see any constructive policy to address conflicts we face during the construction of reservoirs, like in case of the Amar Bhasha Dam. Yeah. We should have a mechanism like a bottom-up approach, government need to target communities first, address their issues, and then move up to top-up approach where they can address issues and avoid conflicts over
But for all of these things, I think research and development is quite essential too as well. So what do you think our R&D institutions are doing these days?
Well, universities are definitely getting lot of international financial support as well, and many international R&D research-based organizations, and the one like SDPI and others, they are already giving very good suggestions to the policymakers to focus on certain issues which otherwise would not have been that much taken up by the government. But it's something very good that we have that critical mass which keeps on pushing the decision makers to look at various areas which were not that much prioritized. So now everything is there. Now we also are a signatory to SE for All, Sustainable Energy for All, under which we need to not only focus on we need to focus on off-grid areas, like 40 or 30% of the population is that which might not get the grid electricity. So we need to focus on off-grid solutions, on-grid solutions. We need to address heating problems or cooling problems as well, which is adding to the climate change. That is adaptation thing. We burn wood and how it could be burned without having so much emissions in specific areas which rely on wooden biomass and things like that. So it's just like adaptation. Universities have to play a very critical role, and especially the practical practitioners have to be taken up by the HEC Higher Education Commission as well. But because there is another conflict that I'm seeing, that many of our people are getting PhDs and post-PhD degrees, but practical aspect is lacking in most of the things. So the practical guys do need to educate, or they should be given some courses, full semester courses to be taught to the students or the areas or community mobilizers. And sometimes common things are very difficult to be adopted. Just like take the example of polio vaccine. Lot of marketing has been done, but still the messages keep running and running around. So we need to keep yelling about adopting energy efficient technologies, and simple things are sometimes not that much simple to be adopted.
Right, but Mayam, if I can add to
what Asad said.
Yes, please.
Yeah, here in Pakistan we have a problem that every institution is doing research at their own demands and at their own compartments. Like NGOs, like non-government organization like SDPI, which is doing research from past 25 years. What we are doing is that we are taking university students on board, and we are trying to bring students at a level where they can incorporate policy thing into their research. Like purely academic research is not a solution to Pakistan's problem. So it is providing research to the government and policy solutions from past 25 years. So other institutions should also take universities on board and should take students for their research, and that could be very constructive thing.
Right.
I think it's very important to have that trica, the government, the academia and the private sector.
Okay.
So when we have this trica complete, then the development gets started.
But this is not what we are doing. I think Mariam has actually said it very rightly, that what happens is that everybody's got their own agendas, and if everybody's actually got their own agenda, so everybody's moving in some haywire directions, and somebody's going over there, somebody's going over there. How do you think that we are going to have a national consensus on renewable energy?
Well, there are, just like I told you, that now there are some certain focal departments that have been nominated by the government, that they would be responsible to collect all the basic quantified data, because first of all, the data is the basic issue, reliable data from which you can go for planning and take some certain decisions. So for that sake, like under SE for all, under NDC, well, there is another point which I might miss, that I critically sometimes say that NDC, which Pakistan has submitted, it's something licensed to emissions. Like you can emit till 2030, that in 2030 Pakistan will reach its peak emissions. And then after that, with the investment coming in for mitigation up to $40 billion, and for adaptation, because a lot of expenditure is still being done, like $7 to $8 billion US, which we are putting somehow due to health issues, due to climate change and due to floods. Pakistan is investing into climate change things, but we have not properly tagged those things. So proper tagging from the financial perspective, and then seeing like what are the impacts coming in. So we need to sit together with all the stakeholders, and there should be some certain focal agency, which could be the Planning Commission, which is now working on its 5 years plan. So that's how we can consolidate all the things.
So what are the major steps Pakistan has actually taken to for the renewable energy? I myself have witnessed the windmills which were installed when you're passing by on motorway from Karachi to Hyderabad. Has Pakistan taken such more initiative, or such more initiatives coming up?
Well, in the national grid since last 2 or 3 years, because we also got a chance to represent Pakistan in international forums, I feel now very happy that at least we can see the renewable energy portion in the overall energy mix of Pakistan. We have a target to reach up to 10% of the total integrated mix, which we have now reached 6 or 7%, or more than up to 1,000 megawatt power from solar and wind is already there. But these wind loads or solar power plants, they cannot act as a base load. They could be supplementing like intermittent power demands. But the base load, definitely we need to have those coal power plants and hydro. And in this season specifically, when the hydro is as it's low because of like no water coming into the rivers at that air flow rates, we need to go for other sources to keep our demand and supply balanced.
Exactly. Thank you very much for saying that. Nisar sir, anything you want to say, because we are going to wrap up the show then.
My understanding is, to add on that point, what gets measured get improved. What we need to do as a nation, right from top to bottom, I think we need to have a clear energy mix policy. We have our visions. We have Vision 2030. We have Vision 25. Vision 2025. So with 5 year spans, we have 2 different visions also, which is still a question mark. We need to be very clear, what do we really want as far as the energy generation is concerned, and then we need to put that demand on every agenda, because if it is out of agenda, it will not be developed. So what we need to do, first develop the plan and then stick on that plan and keep promoting it. That's very important. It is in case of solar, in case of wind, in case of other energy resources.
In every case, I think, and everything's going to get together and it's going to create a chain process too, but slowly and gradually, because we've started gelling about it. That's what very rightly Mr. Asad said. Thank you very much for coming over. It was lovely to have you guys. It was a wonderful conversation, but an hour couldn't actually do justice with the type of conversation we wanted to have. We'll have you back again, and you guys actually have to promise us that you guys will come back again.
Yes, of course.
So we'll definitely talk about that.
So
Maria, do you want to say something?
I hope you loved the show today. It was very informative for me, and I really got a lot of, and Shahzad was more energetic than I was today, but yeah, I got to gather a lot of information about energy. I hope you guys did too. So if you have any comments,
before that, so, what we can do is, so for all that time which I've been telling you to turn off the lights or turn off the heater, please make sure that you do, or otherwise I'll do it myself, because we have to preserve energy and we have to save energy.
And once he is not doing it, our father-in-law makes sure that we are actually doing it, and we thank him for that. Because we are not allowed to keep our heaters in our room, but he is so kind of him to come upstairs and also turn off our heaters for us.
Enough of home stories, it's all right. So ladies and gentlemen, please write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well This Morning.
On Twitter.
Well This Morning without a G.
On Daily Motion and YouTube.
Well This Morning.
And the fabulous repeat's going to be at
11:05 p.m.
Till the next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Thank you very much.